Good morning. Roll call is 30 present, 0 absent, 5 excused. We do have a quorum. Senator Pelton, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Would everyone say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of February 5th, 2024 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? Representative Herod, you don't get a vote in the Senate. I'm sorry. The ayes have it. That motion is adopted. Senate Services.
February 6, 2024, correctly printed Senate Bills 106, 107, 108, 19, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, and 123. Correctly engrossed Senate Bill 51. Correctly re-engrossed Senate Bills 2, 21, 46, and 56.
Committee reports.
February 5th, 2024, Committee on Transportation and Energy. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 36 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 32 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Finance with favorable recommendation. Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 3 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1020 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1090 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 13 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Thank you. Committee on Education. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 71 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 78 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 70 be amended as follows, and as so amended, be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the title of the bill on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 51, Senators Enzinger and Kirkmeyer, Representatives Kipp and Catlin, concerning modifications to finance adult education in Colorado.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the passage of Senate Bill 51 on third reading of bills, consent calendar.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of the bill on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes? Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be recorded as a no vote on the one bill on the consent calendar, Senate Bill 51.
Senator Van Winkle will be recorded as a no vote on Senate Bill 51. With a vote of 29 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 5 excused. Senate Bill 51 is passed. Co-sponsors. General orders. Second reading of bills. Consent calendar. Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general order, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Exum will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed for everyone in the chamber. Will the clerk please read the title of the bill of general orders on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 45, Senator Liston, Representatives Rittenell and Taggart, concerning modifications to the exemptions from the sterilization requirement under the Pet Animal Care and Facilities Act.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 45 on the consent calendar, and there are no committee reports.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the bill on the consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the bill on general orders, second reading of bill's consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a bill under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 45 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 5 excused. Committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 45 passed on second reading and order engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title of Senate Joint Resolution 7?
Senate Joint Resolution 7, Senator Baisley, Representative Luck, concerning designating portions of United States Highway 24 and State Highway 67 that are in Teller County as the Purple Heart Trail.
Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, this resolution will complete a long path through my district in Teller County, where I make my home. And with us today, I'd like to. Is this appropriate time?
Move it.
I moved it. Thank you. And what's the resolution number? 7. Senate Joint Resolution 7. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move Resolution 7, please. Joint Resolution 7.
Thank you, Senator. To the resolution.
Okay, thank you. My apologies for stepping out of order. We have some guests here to join us for this resolution in celebration of it. I'd like to recognize them if that's okay with the President. First is Don Bertrand and John Bartlett. Both are Vietnam veterans. Both are Green Berets in Vietnam, and both are multiple Purple Heart recipients. So it is for their sake and everyone else's that we want to recognize them with this highway designation, and they are seated over here on the west in the west corner. Mr. President, with your indulgence, we could welcome them to the Senate. I guess I've made the motion. I guess we need to take a vote, huh?
See no further discussion. The motion is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 7. Are there any no votes? With a vote of Senator Baisley.
I was going to ask if we could add the current roll call. Should I do that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, roll call vote. Yes, Mr. President, if we could add current roll call vote to to this, I'm sorry, call the vote? Yeah, I know. I stepped on it. I apologize.
No,
Vote. My apologies.
Senator Baisley.
Mr. President, my apologies. Do request a roll call vote for our recipients today, please, for the sake of them.
The motion is the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution 7, and a roll call vote has been requested. Will the clerk please poll the members?
Senators Baisley. Aye. Baisley, aye. Senator Bridges, excused. Buckner. Aye. Buckner, aye. Coleman. Aye. Coleman, aye. Cutter, excused. Danielson. Danielson, aye. Exum. Exum, aye. Fields, excused. Gardner. Gardner, aye. Janal. Janal, aye. Gonzalez. Gonzalez, aye. Hanson. Hanson, aye. Henriksen. Henriksen, aye. Hawkes Lewis. Hawkes Lewis, aye. Kirkmeyer. Kirkmeyer, aye. Kolker. Senator Kolker. Liston. Liston, aye. Lundin. Lundin, aye. Marchman, excused. Michelson Janae. Michelson Janae, aye. Malika. Malika, aye. Pelton B. Pelton B, aye. Pelton R. Pelton R, aye. Priola. Priola, aye. Rich. Rich, aye. Roberts. Roberts, aye. Rodriguez. Rodriguez, aye. Simpson. Simpson, aye. Smallwood, excused. Sullivan. Sullivan, aye. Van Winkle. Van Winkle, aye. Will. Will, aye. Winter. Winter, aye. Zenzinger. Zenzinger, aye. Kolker. Kolker, aye. Mr. President.
Aye.
President, aye.
With a vote of 30 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 5 excused, Senate Joint Resolution 7 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors today. Thank you.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors to Senate Joint Resolution 7. Members, the Senate will stand in a brief recess to greet our guests. Senate will come back to order. Announcements. Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege, please?
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today we are joined on the floor by students from Goal Academy High School. Goal Academy High School is headquartered in Pueblo, but is located throughout the state. It provides unique education tailored to the individual needs of students to prepare them for college, career, and beyond. And if you take a moment to meet some of the fine young students that we have here with us on the floor today, there's a better than 50% chance that you will meet somebody from your district, and encourage you to learn about their wonderful plans that they have for their future in our state. Thank you.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your hesitation made me nervous there for a second. I would add my comments and welcome to the students from Goal Academy. It's fresh on the top of my mind because we had a bill up in the Senate Education Committee yesterday that dealt with online students and their ability to take remote testing, online testing that aligns with the education they're getting. These students, fine students of Goal Academy, are among the 32,000 students in Colorado who get their education, who get their K-12 experience online. And I think it's critically important that we acknowledge and understand the many ways that we're providing flexibility and providing an opportunity for children and students to become the adults and the leaders of tomorrow that these good students from Goal Academy are. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Senator Mollica.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, just an announcement. Senate Finance Committee will be meeting at 2 o'clock on the third floor.
Just in the hallway? Somewhere up there? Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Local government housing will not be meeting today. The one bill that we had, we extended that or moved that to a different date for reschedule, so we will not have a meeting today. So enjoy your afternoon. Thank you.
Further announcements. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, it is February the 6th, 2024. This week I received an email from a standing records request that concerns the number of evictions that we have processed over the past year. Over 53,000 evictions were filed in 2023. We heard time and time again over the course of the since the pandemic, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and now into this year. We've acted. We allocated last year $8 million in additional funds in order to keep Coloradans housed. Turns out that money was not actually spent. During the emergency special session that was convened in order to address the housing crisis that was impacting property owners, that was so dire that we reconvened as a legislature in order to provide property tax relief, we also allocated $30 million to support renters, and to keep Coloradans housed. I carried that bill alongside the good senator from Aurora, because we were constantly hearing from our constituents that we are trying to navigate systems and bureaucracy, and we need help, and we cannot get it. During that hearing on that bill in the special session, we asked specifically for guidance from DOLA. How best should we craft this in order to get this money out as soon as possible? And crafted the language based on their recommendations. We then, in December, on multiple occasions, asked, when are you opening the portal? When are you going to signal clearly to Coloradans, hey, that money that was passed, that we ran bills on, signed into law, and allocated, is now available for Coloradans to apply for and to receive. Initially, they said, as soon as possible, because we understand and recognize that those funds have to be expended by the end of this fiscal year. That date then got a little clearer when I asked, when I had the opportunity to serve alongside my colleagues on the Joint Budget Committee, and ask, when is the portal live? I asked on December the 5th. We anticipate having funds flowing January 31st and don't anticipate problems. I asked again for clarification, because when I went to the DOLA website, to the website page that says emergency rental assistance, apply here, their website language says the portal's closed. If you need help, call this number. But they told me, no, the portal's open. But their website says, no. As of November 15th, 2022, the state of Colorado has stopped accepting rental assistance applications, or something of that sort. I'm paraphrasing on that. And so, consequently, if I'm confused about the language on their website, I sure bet that the constituents who are trying to stay housed were also confused. I asked again during our DOLA SMART Act hearing that we had just a few weeks ago. DOLA gave me an update to say requests for applications were filed the day after the special session ended. We anticipate that applications will begin in February 2024. Okay, cool. Just a few days ago, the Colorado Sun reported, headline reading, Colorado had money to stop an extra 1,500 evictions in 2023. The Polis administration told renters to not apply. This is one thing for us to come forward and to pass policy, to sign bills, to debate bills here on the floor, and have the debates on whether or not that money should be allocated to this desperate need or to that desperate need. But when we do actually pass a bill, get it signed into law, how dare an agency then just not spend the money? I opened by noting that today is February 6th. Somebody smarter than me ought to be able to count how many days remain for DOLA to set up the portal, open up applications, and get that money spent before June the 30th. Because the clock's ticking. And more Coloradans in my district, in your district, in your district, in your district, are asking, how do I get this money? What do I need to do? I don't want to have to come here again tomorrow and ask this question again. But I'll do it. I don't want to have to come here on Thursday and Friday and next week. But I feel like I've asked so many times, given the proper channels, and if we, as legislators, can't get straight answers, how do we expect our constituents to? The nonprofit agencies who have been allocated to do this diligent work currently, you have to be in eviction court before you can access the emergency funds. We wrote 1001 specifically in a manner to hopefully help people before an eviction was filed. It's February 6th. Are we going to see this money get opened up? Are we going to see this portal become accessible? The need is there. 53,000 evictions over the course of the last year. And our dear governor, with all due respect, just decided to not spend that money. That's not how we do work here. Thank you, Mr. President, for this moment of personal privilege.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
So, members, we rise in strong support of the comments that were just made by our good colleague from Denver. She is 100% absolutely correct. And as members of the Joint Budget Committee who've had this conversation repeatedly with members of the department and with the administration, it is unfathomable that we are in the exact same position that we were months ago. So much so that yesterday we had a conversation because they came forward and had the audacity to ask for roll forward authority. They want to keep that money so that they can go ahead and not spend it. They wanted roll forward authority to keep on doing what they are not doing. So, after having some heated discussion that was just relayed to you on the part of our colleague from Denver, we decided no. We were not going to give them that authority. Now, we are here to clarify what that means for for renters who need assistance, because this was a supplemental from last year. Last year, this problem was presented to us. We jumped through hoops to figure out how we could move around money, how we could revert unspent money from another bill so that we could do this, all with the expectation that it would be spent, that it would get into the hands of the people who need it, and it was not. They didn't even bother to open the portal. It just sat there. We are dismayed, we are disgruntled, and we are appreciative of our colleague for bringing that forward today and conveying this to the chamber, because we want you to know what has happened, but we also want the public to know what has happened, because it's unacceptable.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
President.
Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, it is not just the job of the Joint Budget Committee to hold the governor accountable. It is this body that is supposed to hold the governor accountable. This story started all the way back in February of last year. All the way back in February of last year, when we were told that there wasn't going to be, we, meaning the Joint Budget Committee, was told that there would not be enough funds to continue the emergency rental assistance program that was started because of the public health emergency. So we went into action. We found money to put an additional $8 million into the emergency rental assistance program to get it through the end of the year. These funds were supposed to be spent before July 1 of 2023. Not now, not in December, but of 2023, July 1. They got more money from the feds. They just held on to the money. Didn't bother to come talk to the Joint Budget Committee to let us know what was going on. We took that money from unspent funds on a broadband project. It was the good senator from Centennial, Greenwood Village, thank you. It was his bill. That's how we knew about the funds. So there was all these budget proposals that went through that we all voted on and passed. They knew as of July 1 that they didn't spend the money. Now here's a revelation for all of you. There are requirements that the executive branch, the governor's departments, the governors, can't spend over. At least they're not supposed to. We found out that's not really following through right now either. But they cannot spend. They have spending authority up to amount, and they can't go over that amount. But guess what? They don't have to spend the funds. The executive branch, even though we legislate that $8 million or $30 million, whatever it is for emergency rental assistance, the governor's branch, the executive branch, does not have to spend that money. And we found out the governor is not spending that money. And in fact, this started happening, we started finding out this information during the special session, when I am going to quote my other colleague on the Joint Budget Committee, the good senator from Greenwood Village, who basically made a comment in appropriations to the governor that said this: "Governor, stop screwing with our budget." Apparently, he did not hear, because we had an interim supplemental request that we're going to be talking about next week, where the governor wanted to take money away from low-income families who deserve, and now we're finding out at least 1,500 people who deserved this emergency rental assistance, who we voted for, that we voted for, and move it over to something totally different, migrant support. Not following our processes, not having an integrity with the supplemental criteria process, wanted to move it over. Then all of a sudden it got switched. Now it's just going to go someplace else. So yesterday, as already stated, at the Joint Budget Committee, the governor's proposal was to recapture the $8 million and repurpose it. So we voted no. We are going to recapture the money, and it will be this body that decides where the money will be repurposed, not the governor's office. But this is one of those cases where, again, I'm just going to remind the governor and his office, stop screwing with our budget. When this legislative body says, this is where we want the funds spent, this is where the funds should be spent. When we say it's up to $8 million, that doesn't mean you hold on to the full $8 million and then talk about where you want to spend it someplace else. That is not how the budgeting process works. So, as my colleague stated, we are in full support of what the good senator from Denver said today. We are holding the line. The money has been recaptured, and it will be this body, the legislative branch, who writes the budget and passes the budget that says where the money will go. So, looking forward to the debate. But once again, it is up to us to hold this governor accountable. My side's doing their job. I'm counting on this side. Let's go for it.
Senator Zenzinger.
On that note, the Senate Appropriations Committee will be meeting tomorrow at 8:45. So if you are a member of the Appropriations Committee, please join us at 8:45 in LSBB. We will be hearing one bill. Thank you.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate recess until 1 p.m. today. Colleagues, there's nothing to return for unless you want to come back and hear us read bills across the desk. Have a
We
great
have heard the
afternoon.
motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until 1 p.m. today.